and other people, as they come in, we're going to introduce everybody. We'll catch everybody as time goes on. So this is the meeting of the Board of Health, Custer County Board of Health meeting, Wednesday the 17th, 2020, 1 p.m. We've set up a conference call for the public to be here since we are limited in space. And we have the Custer County Health Board consisting of Jay Prince, Tom Flower, and Bill Kanda, Board of Health. Clerk or Secretary to the Board, Kelly Camper, and our attorney, Clint Smith, in the room here. So we'll call the meeting to order. And you know what? Silence your cell phones. And if you're on the conference call, please mute if you're on the call. And that'll keep the static off the line. So we'll do that. I probably need to mute mine too. So we'll call the meeting to order. How about the Pledge of Allegiance since we're here? We haven't done that for a Well Health Board meeting. Kelly, would you start it?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, roll call. Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
Clerk to the board, Kelly Camper, present.
Okay, got the full house. Roll call. Thank you. All right, Vernon, how many we have on the call that's logged in so far?
We have 26 people on the call so far.
Okay, 26. Good. All right, so let's go through audience introductions and say your name slowly, and wait for Kelly to say next, because that would probably keep the people from stepping on each other. So first up on the call.
Was that Alyssa?
No.
No, I had Peggy Collins, I think.
Peggy.
Yes.
Okay,
And
got
Meredith.
and Meredith Collins. Got it.
Next,
And Ann Wilson.
Arthur and Wilson.
Okay.
Alyssa Lashman.
Oh, I thought she was on vacation.
Okay.
Lisa Frank.
Okay.
Jackie Bugos.
Okay.
Ashley Franklin.
Okay.
Mary Littman and Glenn Littman.
Got it.
Peggy Quinn.
Peggy Quinn.
Got Peggy and got Buck.
Next,
Jennifer.
Jennifer, say it again.
Jennifer and Gary Diss.
Got it.
Last name?
Hit.
Dent.
Hint.
Could we ask Vern to come over and turn the microphones on? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Hilda and Danny Five.
Who was that last one?
Hilda and Danny Five.
Hilda and
Benny or Denny?
Danny.
Danny. What was the last name?
Last name for
Renetta. Five, that's why it would be.
last name for Denny
Danny.
or Danny, I should say.
It's Five,
Fife.
F-Y-F-F-E.
Okay, got it.
Okay, next.
Renetta and Trent Tyler.
Okay.
Next.
Cindy Flower.
Okay.
Next.
Glenn.
Glenn Schock.
Yes.
Okay.
Next.
Yeah.
Next. Okay, how many do you have, Kelly? And you can
We're
name.
missing about 10.
Okay, Kelly's going to read the names, and if you haven't, your name's not called, we'll do it. Hey, and Vernon, would you turn on the mics for us over here so we can amplify the sound over here too?
Okay, I'll be right up.
Okay, so I have Alyssa Livengood, Peggy Collins, Meredith Nichols, Ann Barthrop, Ann Wilson, Lisa Frank, Jackie Bubis, Ashley Franklin, Marion Glenn Littman, Peggy Quint, Buck Wenzel, Jennifer and Gary Dent, Hilda and Danny Fife, Renetta and Trent Tyler, Cindy Flower, Glenn Schock.
Okay, if your name hasn't been called, next. I'm counting. Linda Pollock, Washington. Adrian, Washington. Okay, we got the Washingtons. We got, and who was in there after that?
Nancy Androsky,
Okay,
Sheila Martin. I gotta sign in.
That are you 100%?
Sheila Martin.
Sheila Martin. Was that Sheila Martin?
Yes.
Okay,
Next.
Oh, that's my name, yeah. Here,
Tessie.
Never.
Next.
Never.
I just couldn't hear.
Anybody else?
we're probably good now.
Okay, we'll call that good. Oops, somebody just dialed in. Can we have your name, please?
Yes, Deacon Michael Rufino.
Thanks, Vern.
Michael Rufino.
Marlissa Gonzalez,
What was the last name of Mike?
Gonzalez, Michael Rufino. Ruffino.
Okay.
Next.
You know him, do you know?
Yeah, he's a pastor of church up here.
Well,
Okay, we'll begin. Audience introductions are complete. Amend the agenda. Any agenda items, gentlemen?
Not for me, sir.
Nor me.
Okay, we stay as they are. Now we've got the minutes of June the 12th.
I move that we approve the minutes for June 12th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of June 12th. Any comments? Kelly, nice job, concise.
Thank you.
Okay, I call for the vote. Approved, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye here, so unanimous. Okay, we're going to have a quick report by the board members of, and let's keep it to the health board issues. Also, after that, we'll have our director of health will give us a report of the status of where we stand. So it's the board members first, and then we'll go into the director of health's report. And then what I would like to have happen is we will discuss the new business items. There'll be public comment on each of those allowed. And then at the end, we'll host anybody to talk on the issues that were either brought up in the meeting or otherwise questions at the end of the meeting. So let's go with the Board of Health. Jay?
I really don't have anything to add from the last meeting.
Okay. Tom?
Nothing, thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is we have had some meetings with the task force that were related to some of the decisions we made in the Board of Health as regarding waivers and that kind of thing. Oops, can you hear me, Jay?
I can hear you
Okay.
fine now. Thank you.
So activity's been going on, people have been paying attention, and we've got a lot of attention today, and I appreciate everybody that has joined us on this call. There's a couple other people that have just checked in. Can you give us a quick name? I think there was 2 of you. That's okay. All right. All right. Let's get a quick summary from Alyssa if you're there, Alyssa.
Hey, yeah, thank you. So we have, when in our last meeting, we did the guidance form that we would have the fair, rodeo, and parade people sign saying that essentially the county is not responsible for any COVID cases or fallout if they decide to go forward with those events, regardless of the governor's orders. So two things about that. First of all, we also have that same letter for camp, gyms, houses of worship, pretty much everything that we could think of. So we need to, as you know, that's an agenda item, so we need to have those signed or approved by the board because, so the next piece of it is that Governor Polis put out some guidelines, and I've read some places that we expect him to put those guidelines out by June 18th, which is tomorrow. But then I've also seen some things saying that those guidelines wouldn't be put out until July 1st. So I still think it's a good idea to go ahead and approve those guidance letters, just in case he does not push those orders, like keeping your friends safe orders at keeping your neighbors safe orders tomorrow and wait until the 1st, because then people can continue to plan for things like the rodeo fair, etc. The other thing I'm a little bit concerned about, because of a letter that I received this morning from CALPO, which is the Colorado Association of Local Public Health Officials, stating that they are trying to get a task force put together to essentially stop those orders from going out and making sure that their hands can be in it, I guess, which is why the politics of this is just driving me absolutely bonkers. So I just want to clarify that I really think we should go ahead and put those guidance letters out and have them available for everyone so that they can start making their plans in a safe manner. Because even though we got all these guidelines and information from the governor, I am not confident that he's going to really just go forth with the information that was put out to us on Monday. So I know I forwarded those plans to several people, including the rodeo board and the fair board. Martha, I'm sorry I didn't get you the link, but I can still do that. But if anybody wants to know that, all that information is on the CDPHG website under the COVID stuff. So at this point, that's all I have that's new from the last meeting, and unless anybody has any questions, thank you.
Just a quick one from Bill here, and then Jay's got a question, and then we'll open it up for other questions. But Alyssa, the guidance letters, documents, are what we were going to consider now for the ones that didn't specifically look at what's required. And so that's what we'll discuss in our items. Is that what you intended to say?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And all right, so that'll be, just so everybody knows, we will get into the details of houses of worship, life rights, businesses, camp, gyms, and pool today. Jay?
Yeah, I just wanted to publicly commend you, Alyssa. We got the rodeo plan for holding the rodeo on a Friday late in the afternoon. You sent that very...
Please mute your phones, everybody. Somebody's not muted. There we go.
I just wanted
Hey, I
to...
can barely hear you, I'm sorry.
Speak up, Jay.
Okay.
Right against it.
I just wanted to commend Alyssa for sending the variance into the state the same day that she received the plan from the rodeo. There was no delay. Even though it was a late Friday afternoon, she stayed and took care of that. I just want to thank you for getting that done as quickly as you did.
Thanks, Dave.
Other comments? Okay, good. Thank you, Alyssa. All right, we'll move on to our items to discuss now. The first one to consider is our consideration of hiring a new public health director. Let me comment on that real quick so we can discuss it. It's a requirement that the public health director would be a doctor. If there's a doctor not available, then a nurse with a master's degree can become the health director of health. And so we have 2 vacancies then by the statute. We've got a public health director that's a doctor and a public health director, a nurse that we would need. Now, the reason I bring it up that way is because I've got several people that I've thought that we could discuss today for both positions, or one or the other. So, do you want to comment first, and let me tell you what I found?
We don't have both. We have a public health director.
Right. That is the
Could be a doctor.
could be a doctor or a nurse, but don't we need a public health nurse too?
No.
Not necessarily. Okay, good. So I got a doctor that we could consider, and I've got a nurse that excuse me, I don't have a nurse.
Okay.
But let's talk about the doctor.
You have
I have a candidate that we
qualified.
want to consider as a medical doctor. Now, I don't know a nurse that we could do, but we do need to put out an announcement of some kind.
Right, that's what I was going to mention, Mr. Chairman. I think our protocol, and I'm really glad you have someone interested, but I think our protocol says that we need to announce it,
Yes, we do.
publicize it, get in any resumes that we can, and then sit and discuss who we feel would be the best person. I think it's great you have somebody, but I don't think it's appropriate for us to move forward without following the normal process.
That's correct. Yeah, and I'm sorry for confusing the two, because we do have a need for a clerk, and that was where the other part was.
It's a different
We're going
animal.
to
I
discuss
agree
that
with
in the
you.
next one.
Yeah.
So yes, we do, and so we do need to get an announcement out as soon as possible. As just to remind everybody that isn't maybe not aware of it, Alyssa has resigned and has made a concession to us to stay as long as we can get somebody found, or if a personal interest comes up first. And so we do need to act on this as quickly as we can.
So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I would move that we authorize Human Resources to use our normal channels to fill a vacancy like this, adhering to the qualifications that are necessary for this position, and have that taken care of with due haste.
I'll second the motion.
All right, that's been moved and seconded to open up an announcement to find a public health director. Any comments? Other discussion?
I have nothing.
Well, I guess I have a question about salary range, start date, that type of thing. And maybe that's what Donna would do. I don't know if we need to give her guidance on that or not.
We need that before we publish it, for sure.
Well, I believe we have a salary range for that position, and I would say let's certainly adhere to that if we can. Thanks to Alyssa, she did not give us a hard and fast date. If I remember correctly, and Alyssa, if I say this incorrectly, please jump in and correct me, but my understanding is that you were willing to stay on until we could get someone, and then you would help train them for a short period of time. I think you said 2 weeks, unless the demands of the job got to be such as you would just give a 2-week notice. If that's still correct.
Well, we're getting some noise, some wind off the microphone. Please mute. What Jay was pointing out, and I'll read the letter from Alyssa, because he's pointing this out. She submitted a letter of resignation to accept this as a formal notice of my resignation from the position of Custer County Public Health Director, effective as soon as a replacement can be hired and trained. Should a replacement not be available by the time my personal business requires more of my attention than can be given, or the duties and ramifications of the job become more than I or my family can bear going forward, I will announce a 2-week completion date. I am submitting this now so that a search for a new director can begin immediately. So I think that's as far as I need to read for now. and she thanked us for the opportunity and wished everybody continued success in the future. My view is that we need to find somebody quickly for both Liz's sake and ours. It's the best for the interest of the county. And so we do need to get this announcement on the street as soon as possible. Any other comment? Tom?
I'm good.
This is Melissa when you're ready.
Go ahead, Alyssa. You had a comment too?
Thank you. Yeah, so that's right. I'm willing to stay until we can get somebody. I'm not going to just leave the county and the public health in the lurch. But I also, you should keep in mind, and everyone should know that you're absolutely correct that a physician or a master's prepared nurse can be the public health director. However, because we're a frontier county and it's difficult to get those credentials, someone with those credentials in the county, the state has allowed it to be a bachelor prepared nurse or someone with a master's of public health as well. So those people would be eligible to apply for the job as well.
That's great. Thanks for amplifying that. That's true. Thank you. Okay. All right, let's call a vote. All in favor? Putting an announcement on the street as soon as possible, say aye. Jay?
Aye. Oh,
Aye.
Tom?
aye.
Kanda? Aye. All right, any other thoughts? No? All right, let's move on to the next item. Next item is considering appointing a secretary to the Board of Health. We also had a resignation, not a resignation. Our temporary clerk, our secretary, is Kelly Camper, and she's been doing a great job standing in to this job, the Board of Commissioners job. Got an election coming up that she's working very hard in other items. So it's important to find somebody as soon as we can. I do have a candidate that's we could consider as volunteer. Temporary, though. And then I'm going to ask if there's any other thoughts. Go ahead, Jay.
Bill, considering this is a temporary position, I don't think we need to advertise for it. I think if you can recommend someone and, I think we could move on that immediately. That's my personal opinion. Maybe you guys feel differently.
Well, we could. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was just gonna ask, I guess I don't understand the temporary nature. Could you explain that?
Until we get a full-time person to do it. Now, what I have asked, you recommended last week looking into Kara. Kara and I had a long talk, and she's talked to each one of you as well, and feels that she would not do that and would not like to do that. I do have another person that we could consider, and the reason that's temporary is because he wants to make it temporary, and he's willing to do a world-class job doing it, but wants to find somebody that would be more apt to do it. Now, if we get a new health director, that by statute is the person that should be the secretary to the board. That's the what it points out in the.
Well, maybe.
It doesn't have to be, but it can be the director of health, and that would be our first choice if they can do it. And the reason that's the way it's been in the past until this time frame. Let me pull up that. But Clint pointed it out. It may be the Board of Health Director as the secretary. The public health director
can serve as the secretary, but it's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory. So we do need to find somebody that's willing to stand in full time. And it is, by the way, it states that it will not be a paid position. It's voluntary.
Who is your recommendation?
This is a person that has a place up here, and he works in Colorado Springs. His name is John Adams, former Army, bailed out of the Army not long ago and has a successful business in the Springs, so he goes back and forth. That's why he would consider doing it part-time. Not part-time, but temporary.
I understand that. Would he be available when we have our meetings? Because our meetings are not at a set time, set date. I mean, they just happen when we need them.
Yep. And he assured me that he would be available. He would come here in person if he didn't have another conflict, if it came up too quickly. at which time, because of the new way we've been doing business, we could have that done on the conference call, I believe. Something for us to consider here with a part-time guy.
Well, I commend him for volunteering. None of this is easy, and when someone is willing to serve the county without being paid, I appreciate that.
Other thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, I guess I just go back. I was prepared today to move forward of posting this position on a full-time basis. I'm just not sure where the temporary comes from unless your plan is to appoint a new director as the secretary to the board.
That would be the first thing you would ask, because you may do that.
Well,
if we get a director, but if you didn't,
right.
and what you're proposing is to make it a paid position.
No, I'm not. My thought was we would post a notice in the papers to find a secretary to the Board of Health. Nothing about pay. I understand it's voluntary.
That's right. So that's possible. I mean, we pointed that out. If we want to take some time, and we could post it in the paper or online or wherever. That's from other volunteers.
Is Mr. Adams available immediately
Yes, he is.
So, I'm not having a problem with this, because if he comes in immediately, and once we hire a new director for public health, that person, then we can ask. If they say they'd prefer not to, well, then we can find someone to replace Adams. But at least we have someone in the interim, because like I said this morning at the BOCC meeting, I really commend Kelly for she's so overworked right now. I commend her for stepping in.
And that's why I went down that path initially. And that's not to say that we can't consider it, Tom, if you all want to propose that and make it so.
I'll go ahead and I'll move that we accept Mr. Adams. I don't know how to say it. Mr. Adams volunteer as our public health recording secretary. Thank you. Until such time as we can find a permanent replacement, and I'll just leave it at that.
Here, a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to offer the position to Mr. Adams as a temporary position until such time we hire a public health director, and then offer that and see how it goes from there.
I think that's appropriate.
All right, any discussion? Comments, public? Anybody want to volunteer in the public? Not now. All right.
Mr. Chairman, this
Say again your name.
is Cindy.
Cindy. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yes, sir. There may be some other people that would be willing to be the secretary on a full-time basis. If we find someone that would like to do that on a full-time basis, would that be appropriate, or would you rather wait?
It would be appropriate if at that time we convene a meeting and we see there's a pool of candidates to consider that want to do it full-time. Certainly we could do that. But right now we've got a motion on the floor now. Any other discussion?
Would it be appropriate to add to the motion an amendment speaking to the posting of the position on a full-time basis? Or should that be different? And when would we make that decision about, are we going to look for a full-time?
I think personally, I would rather, we got a bird in hand, I think, and we can take the time to post it anytime. I think we've really got to concentrate on getting a public health director posted immediately. My comment.
I'll just say, again, I appreciate this gentleman stepping forward. I think anybody who's been in our conversations at Board of Health know that we've been actively seeking someone to take that position. This is the first person. I've put out a feelers to try and find someone and was unsuccessful. I think we could, my preference would be, let's move forward with Mr. Adams, and then once we have Public Health Director on board, we can reassess. He may choose to leave by then, or maybe we'll ask him to stay permanently. I don't know, but I would say we have a bird in the hand. Let's move forward with it.
Yeah, he was willing to work for a period of time. He wasn't hesitant. So. All right, let's call for the vote. Jay?
I vote aye to allow Mr. Adams to volunteer in this position.
Tom?
Temporary, correct.
Temporary.
Aye.
Kanda, aye.
Thanks, Mr. Adams, if you're listening.
I don't think he was on. Okay, let's move on to the consideration of approving the remaining guidance documents. Houses of worship, life rights, businesses, camp, and gym and pool documents. These are specific guidances to that are considering the recommendations and guidance from the state. So I would lay it open to propose how we're going to do that. Do we want to read each one and get into it?
I think we ought to ask Alyssa to kind of guide us through what those recommendations are, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up, Alyssa. I think we got to pick houses of worship's our first one that's on the docket, so go ahead and pull up and read what the requirements are, and we'll go from there.
Guys, I'm driving in my pickup. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I don't have...
Didn't know that. Yeah, that's right. Tom said you were on vacation and you came in anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go print those off?
So if one of you could pull it up, that would be awesome.
You got it on there?
Got mine yours? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll pull it up. Read it from here.
All right, while you're looking for it, I'll just speak to it a little bit. So the guidance is literally whatever the last order from Poland is, or from the state of Colorado. The excerpt from the order that is related to those topics. So House of the Word, those like that is on one, businesses is on one, camp is on one, and the gym and pool is on another one. So the opening paragraph and the last paragraph are the same on all of them. The only thing that's different on each one is the actual orders from the state. So, and what it's saying is that the gist of it is that if you sign this, you understand that the state orders are within that guidance letter. However, you're choosing to do whatever you want essentially, and that you're not going to hold the Custer County Board of Health, Board of County Commissioners, or Public Health liable if someone comes down with COVID or there's an outbreak related to that event. So whatever you guys agree with.
Okay, when we make that really clear, it was if you're outside the guidance-bound guidelines, then that was the case. So it's important for everybody to understand the public health guidance and the guidance that we worked. And as a matter of fact, if there were variances needed, that we offered that up originally, and Alyssa did send in variances to those orders for the rodeo or for the. We got somebody with a turn signal. Maybe that's Alyssa's turn signal. I don't know.
Nope, I'm on mute.
Okay. So anyway, just wanted to make it clear. This is just to provide the guidance to the remaining guidelines that we weren't able to get to last week. And then we will talk about, and Alyssa mentioned new guidelines are coming out. And we are, hopefully, we'll see a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll talk about that in public comment here at the end. So go ahead. Let's see, Tom, you want to read till she brings in the... she's going to bring a hard copy in.
What would you like me to read? Sorry.
The House of Worship guideline.
Houses of worship are encouraged to implement electronic platforms to conduct services whenever possible, or to conduct more frequent services of 10 people or less to allow for compliance with social distance requirements. Effective June 4th, 2020, houses of worship may open to 50% of the posted occupancy limit indoors, not to exceed 50 people, whichever is less per room, while meeting the 6 feet distancing requirements in every direction between non-household members. For outdoor worship services, a house of worship must maintain 6 feet distance between non-household members and work with the appropriate local authority to obtain approval for the maximum number of individuals who may attend in the designated outdoor space. In addition to meeting the requirements of Section 2.1 of this order, houses of worship shall also meet the following requirements. Number 1, face coverings are strongly encouraged to be worn by staff, volunteers, and congregants while on the premises of the house of worship, except for children 2 years old and under, those with trouble breathing, or those unable to remove a mask without assistance. Number 2, houses of worship should follow the Colorado Department of Health and Environment cleaning guidance, as well as CDC guidance for cleaning, guidelines for cleaning and disinfecting your facility in preparing their buildings prior to, during, and following any gathering. Restrooms and the worship service, particularly any metal or plastic on chairs, and all high-touch surfaces or shared objects must be cleaned and disinfected between services.
Okay, that was the houses of worship. Any comments from the public house of worship point of view?
Did we have a motion?
No motion yet to accept it as written. Comments?
I would move to approve the guidance for houses of worship document.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the houses of worship document guidelines as read. Comments from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. If you vote in favor of accepting the guidelines, aye. Jay?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Canada, aye. Next item, life rights. Vernon, can you hear us?
I move to accept the guidances for life rights.
I'll second the motion. So it's been moved and seconded to accept the life rights. Let's read the document and then we'll discuss it. And I've got a copy. I'll read it this time. Just get variety in here. So the safer at home and in the vast great outdoors, life rights such as weddings, ceremonies, graduation ceremonies, and funerals, and other religious rites are authorized at 50% capacity, not to exceed 50 people indoors, with strict compliance with social distancing requirements for employees and any attendees of services. For outdoor rights, individuals must maintain 6 feet distance between non-household members and work with the appropriate local authority to obtain approval for the maximum number of individuals who may attend in the designated outdoor space. Only the ceremony or rite itself is included in this authorization. Receptions and parties associated with life rights are not included in this authorization. Life rights should follow the guidance of houses of worship found here. Discussion. Nothing inside. In public.
People don't mute their phones.
Need to mute phones, please. Please mute your phones. All right, go ahead. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's take the vote. All in favor, say aye. Jay?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Okay, that is the end of the agenda.
No.
Excuse me, no, it's not.
Did you ask for public input on the last one you voted on?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did, I was looking for input, and I didn't mean to say it's the last thing, so go ahead, we did vote, but let's hear input on the life. Who is this?
Lisa Frank?
Okay, Lisa?
Okay, I just would like to say, how in the world are you ever going to track any of this? I mean, somebody could go down to Pueblo after being in church. How are you ever going to track any of this? That's just a question.
So we still have 2 more to go, right?
Yeah.
3 more.
Three. So the question, if you didn't hear it, was how do we track it? And if I understand the question right, Lisa, help me out. We have a service in Custer County, and then your question is, how do you track it? Jay, did you have a point?
Yeah, we made this comment at the last Board of Health meeting. This is an honor system type thing. No one's going to go track it. No one's going to write tickets. No one's going to get arrested. We're asking you to follow the guidelines, and if you choose not to, that's your decision. We're just asking you to follow the guidelines. We at the county must ask you to follow the guidelines. We cannot circumvent any guidelines that come down from the state, but we're not going to sit there and police whether you do it or not.
I understand that, but you're having people sign something saying you won't hold anyone responsible. I just wonder why we're going through this whole motion, because there is no way to follow when something happens. I don't know if you can hear me, but I understand it's the same day, I clear the bell, but I just wonder, you're doing all this so that you can find out where it comes from, and there's no way to find out where anything is coming from, is there?
Okay, let me try again, Lisa. I think I understand it a little clearer. You're saying, how would we know if somebody attended a service here and then went home and got the virus? How would they blame Custer County? We wouldn't know that, actually, and that's why we would want to make sure that that's all we can do. We're trusting our people to do the right thing. And I think that at a state level, if you look at it also, that's been the given from the get-go, because all of these orders, recommendations, and guidelines are items that nobody was going to receive. And in fact, we actually came up with, we're not going to give a ticket out on any other period. So, and I think Alyssa brought that up last time too. You can take good advice and decide to do what you can to support it. That doesn't mean there's other ways that we could do it. And an example would have been the parade, and either be in your car or not in your car. There's options to do either one and still be within the guidelines. So anyway, good point. Thank you, Lisa.
This is Meredith. If I understand the question, I mean, there's a whole process of how we track cases. It's been, there's guidelines in that, and we've been doing that from the start. So if there is a case, either in Custer or somewhere else, there are trained persons, people that are able to track and ask the right questions to figure out where it has come from. So there is a way to process that and track that, if I'm understanding that question.
Okay, good, thanks. Any other comments? And this is the case, and thanks for bringing it up, that's true with each of these. The next one is businesses. Since I'm next to the phone, I'll read that again, I guess.
It's the same, is it not? No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
It's not, I'm sorry.
So this has to do with businesses that are not addressed in Executive Order Delta 2020-091. This order corresponds to interpretive guidance may operate within 10 or fewer individuals in accordance with the requirements of Section 2.1 of this order. So A, the following places of public accommodation remain closed to ingress, egress use and occupancy by members of the public. And that would be number 1, bars, taverns, brew pubs, breweries, microbreweries, distillery pubs, wineries, tasting rooms, special licensees, clubs and other public places of public accommodation offering alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption unless the establishment ensures access to food from a licensed retail food establishment for on-premises consumption. Number 2, cigar bars. Number 3, movie and performance theaters, except for drive-in movie theaters, opera houses, concert halls, and music halls. And number 4, casinos, amusement parks, and arcades. So that's the order we're considering. Do we hear a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the guidance for business as you just read it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the guidelines for businesses as read. Discussion, any other comments from the public? Comments? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor of accepting the motion as presented. I don't know what happened to the mic. Signify by saying aye. Jay?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Kanda? Aye. Next up, you want to be the variety man here?
No, I'm just, I don't even know which one's next.
Okay, the next one is camps.
Okay.
So this has to do with, is this the camp one? Yeah. Yeah, this is number 2 with business requirements. Any business or activity not addressed in Executive Order Delta 2020-091, this order or corresponding interpretive guidance may operate with 10 or fewer individuals in accordance with the requirements of Section 2-1.1 of this order. So letter K, children's day camps and youth sports camps, effective June 1, 2020. Children's day camps, youth sports camps, and exempt single-skill building youth camps may open in accordance with the requirements in Appendix J of this order. Residential camps are not authorized to open at this time. Keep in mind this was for the order effective June 1. So this is guidance to that order.
I would move we approve guidance for camps.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to accept guidance for camps. Discussion. Anybody in the public? I know we've had several submitted and worked, so people I think are doing a good job of listening. Any discussion? Public comments? All right, hearing none, let's call for the vote. Jay?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Next, is this combined gym and pools? Mm-hmm. So this is a combined item. It's for gyms and pools. Oh boy. This is a long one. Safer at home, vast, great outdoors. This is an order that affected that. Section H, activities that are done with 10 or fewer individuals following social distancing requirements for non-household members are authorized. Individuals may participate in local and personal recreation in outside public spaces as an authorized necessary activity. In groups no larger than 10 and practicing social distancing, maintaining 6 feet between participants. Travel should occur within an individual's local community or as necessary to access outdoor recreation areas. If traveling outside their community, Coloradans are urged to honor all restrictions in place at their destination and avoid travel in counties or municipalities that issue travel restrictions. Local authorities have the discretion to close recreation as needed. Number 1, private campgrounds may open for use. Campground operators must regularly clean and disinfect all common areas, such as bathrooms, in accordance with the CDPHE cleaning guidance. Group facilities, pavilions, cabins, and yurts remain closed. Campsites must maintain a minimum of 6 feet apart and should only be available by reservation. Campground operators must post signs to remind guests of physical distancing requirements and limit visitors in campground offices to maintain such distancing. Number 2, effective June 4, the following personal recreation activities are permitted. Playgrounds and outdoor sports facilities such as tennis and pickleball courts may be open for use for no more than 25 people at a time. High-touch areas should be cleaned and disinfected frequently. B, outdoor swimming pools may be open at 50% capacity, limited to no more than 50 people. Frequently touched surfaces, shared objects, and bathrooms should be cleaned and disinfected every hour. C, organized recreational youth or adult league sports may resume activities with no more than 25 players, outdoors, or 10 players indoors. Parents may attend youth sports activities but must remain 6 feet apart from non-household members. Spectators are strongly discouraged for adults sports. The sports league must retain records of who played in case their later disease outbreak investigations become necessary. Finally, D, gyms, recreation centers, and outdoor pools may open at 25% capacity. Indoor pools, 25% capacity, not to exceed 50 people, whichever is less per room, maintaining 6 feet distancing. Sharing of equipment is discouraged, and equipment must be cleaned and disinfected between uses. Restrooms and showers are open, while lockers remain closed. That's the end of that order, and of course we recognize there's inconsistencies in things, but that's the way the order came out. We all had entertained waivers or variances on each of these areas that we would have submitted and did submit in some cases for people. So that's just the cleanup action now. So discussion. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move that we adopt guidelines for gyms and pools as read.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to accept the guidelines for pools and gyms as read. Any discussion? Public discussion, please. Discussion here.
This is Alyssa.
Alyssa, go ahead.
Excuse me, thank you. I just want to also reiterate that these guidelines, these papers, are only good until new orders come out. So any new orders would supersede these guidelines. Any new orders that come out are going to be less strict than those. So it shouldn't be a problem, and I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good point. Jay?
Also,
Lisa Frank here.
Just one quick, Lisa, hold one. Jay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if any of the organizations that we read the guidelines or approved the guidelines today, if you feel that they're inappropriate for your particular organization, you're encouraged to come up with a plan of your own and submit it to Alyssa, and she'll have the option of submitting that to the state for a variance if she feels that it's appropriate within guidelines.
And coordinated with us, of course.
Yeah, of course, with us too.
So that's true, and that's what I tried to point out. It's available for anybody. Okay, any other comments? Lisa?
Lisa Frank here. I just want to add so that the House knows that they will be less restrictive and not more restrictive.
Because that's... Lisa, did you hear that question?
Why? So let me just make sure I got it right, Lisa. So you're just reiterating, right, that if new orders come out, they will be less restrictive than the current ones and the ones that are on these guidelines, right?
Yes, I want to know how you know that they will be less restrictive and not more restrictive.
Well, because that is the way that the whole entire state is moving at this point. So The only way that they would become more restrictive is if we had a giant outbreak in Custer County. And when I say giant, I mean like 10 new cases within a 7-day period. So as long as we keep our numbers the way they are, we will not move backwards.
Okay, so in May, we did lift the quarantine period for out-of-state visitors, correct?
That's correct.
That's all.
Okay, yeah, all right. All right, good point. Everybody understands. Do we have the motion on the floor? Still, any other comments? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote in favor of accepting the guidelines as read for the gym and pools. Say aye. Joe, Jay,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, now what I'd like to do is probably a good segue because Lisa brought up a good point. How do we know it's going to be more or less restrictive? We do believe that the order that's coming out, it is, and this is from comments made on orders that we've been receiving to make comments on, that it looks like we're going to be throwing a bone. And so the elephant in the room really is we have to deal with opening up the county at some point. We're going to do that as best for both the economic recovery and the health and safety factors in mind. So hopefully, and from what we understand, if they pass this down to the counties, we will make it county specific. And as Lisa mentioned, as long as our numbers are the way they are, we're going to have a lot of opportunity to listen and work with what we think these organizations can do or should do, and work with them as quickly as we can. Personally, I would like to see us start down that road just like we did with the variances in the past, getting our oar in the water, getting our act together sooner than later, so that when they do open up the new guidelines and it is less restrictive, that it's not like a West Point cadet graduating and then thanking heavens that we're free now and going off and making some mistakes. So we want to do that as best we can, and so we'll look at that here on the next, from my point of view, is the first opportunity we can convene a meeting once we understand the final version of that order. So with that, I would open it up for discussion from the public, and we'll pick it up from there. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the public? I would think, I'm waiting for any comments. We're all anxious to do what we can. I think that's what I'm hearing now is we've got a lot of good activity going on. A lot of things have happened. I know all our businesses are open. Are they opened up enough? And are we ready to operate in the next phase? We don't know. That's what we want to get into the next, as soon as this order comes down. And we'll decide how we tailor that toward the specific needs of the county, whether it's open all the way or whether it's taking steps. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Alyssa, if she's still on.
Okay, go ahead, Tom. We got somebody else also that just commented.
Yeah, Alyssa, are you still on the phone?
Yes, sir.
I guess my question is, if the governor comes out with less restrictive orders, do we need to rewrite all of these guidances and then go through this process again?
I think we need to just play it by ear because I really feel like if the new orders are in line with the proposals that he put out for public comment on Monday, I'm not sure there's going to be a need for these guidances because things are going to open up pretty wide, and if people need them opened up more than what the governor's orders are, I think at that point we need to take it on a case-by-case basis. So that we can review individual plans.
And Alyssa, will you post those on the website so that the folks listening and everybody else will have an opportunity to know what the new rules are?
Okay, if you can't hear Jay, he asked Alyssa to post it on the website so everybody has an opportunity to see those new orders once we get them.
Definitely, if we can get Alex to do that for sure.
Okay, now.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jay says thanks.
You're welcome.
Also, somebody else had a comment. Go ahead.
Lisa,
Hey, Carlos.
I just,
Okay, I heard a male voice first, so let's do, who are you?
Hey, Colonel, let's go ahead and let Lisa say what she needs to say, and then I'll go after her.
Okay.
It's Buck, and so, okay, Buck, Lisa, go ahead, and he deferred to you.
I want to say I support opening up the county. I support opening it up sooner than later.
Okay, we got it. If you didn't hear it, I'll repeat it. Lisa is in support of opening the county as soon as possible, sooner than later.
I think we all feel that way, Lisa. We're all a little hamstrung. The county being what we are, we have to follow the orders, even though I think many of us would like to say in our county it's not necessary. But being who we are, we really don't have a choice but to follow orders coming down from the state.
Okay, Buck,
Colonel, can you hear me okay? I'm on my Bluetooth.
got it very well, loud and clear.
Okay, so I think we can all stipulate that the virus is real and precautions are good. But from the onset, if we haven't been, the first 3 weeks of the stay-at-home order, this county was deluged by everybody from Denver, Springs, Pueblo, where our dollar stores and grocery store were cleaned out. Second wave of that occurred during Memorial Day and the week prior to, where there were hordes and hordes of visitors up here. Nobody's been infected. In Silver Cliff alone, we have 29 licensed retail businesses, and I would encourage the Board of Health and the commissioners to do everything in their power to either allow the businesses to self-regulate or help them open to a comfort level.
Discussion, that's good.
I think we did.
Okay, and that's a good point, and we agree, at least I do personally, and what I understand your question, Buck. Each individual business, if it can't live with the recommendations, we need to understand that, because from what we understand, we will be able to discuss and tailor it specifically for our understanding of the risks and benefits. That's what I understand. Good, thank you for the comment, Buck.
And Buck also,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, and Mayor, just one other thing, just to add, I mentioned it before, but I want to reiterate, I think the three commissioners, well, at least me,
Speak loud.
I really want to get back to normal. The problem is we have to follow what the mandates are. But if a business feels that they can't live with what we approve today, no Gestapo is going to walk in and say to them, you have to do X, Y, and Z. So each person's going to make their own decision how they do it. The official mandate from the Board of Health is going to be, these are the recommendations we want you to follow. However, it's up to you what you do.
Jay commented on and made a comment on the current orders, and then of course we've all got the idea on the new orders coming out that we were going to have more discretion to tailor that individually in the county. And that's only, thank God, 2 weeks away or less. Once we get the order out, it'll probably be sometime before the 28th, I understand.
I totally understand that, and I want to keep this on a positive note. However, the pandemic in the state of Colorado isn't a one-size-fits-all. We had 2 illnesses, no deaths.
Yep.
We've had all negative test cases. We've been deluged with visitors and haven't been infected by that. So, and second to that, the extortion or attempt at extortion, if we don't follow the state's mandate, we're going to lose a magic $300,000 or something like that. Totally unacceptable.
Okay, message received, and we agree, or I agree that we're going to tailor this in the next step of this thing, and it must consider our situation on the ground here in Custer County. Thanks, Buck, for the input.
Within the guidelines of
Thanks for letting me voice my opinion.
Thank you, Buck. Mr. Mayor, I should say. Thank you. Okay, next. Who is that?
Hi. Adrian.
Adrian Washington, go ahead.
Bill, I have to step away for on the phone. But was there a mention of regulations relative to a 4th of July parade or football activities, outdoor sporting events?
Okay, yes, outdoor sporting events. We just discussed what the current order did, Butch, and if there was a concern about asking for a variance to that, we can certainly still entertain it. But that's only good for the next couple of weeks. We also pointed out within the next guidelines we expect from the state that we will be able, with more flexibility, to tailor the requirements that we would need to specifically tailor to the county. That answer your question?
With that in mind, Bill, with that in mind, will we be able to actually plan for a 4th of July parade?
Okay, and I forgot about that. The 4th of July parade, you missed the discussion last meeting, and the 4th of July parade people decided to withdraw the request to hold the parade. So that's not an issue right now at all. There's nothing on the docket that.
There's a variance for the parade.
Oh, excuse me. They requested to withdraw the variance that they had submitted, and it was agreed to by verbatim of what they had asked for. We were willing. The Board of Health would have submitted the variance per their request, and they withdrew it.
Alyssa, if you would comment on that, because I thought that we did submit it because it was too late to withdraw it. Am I incorrect on that?
Alyssa, you there?
Meredith, I can speak to that if Alyssa's still on mute.
Go ahead, Meredith.
So the waiver for the parade is still in place. Because there's going to be a whole, the risk of our waiver for everything else was going to be back on the line.
That's right.
Back of the line. So we got them in place. Again, I want to reiterate that we have put forth that waiver in hopes, it was exactly how the parade, the event planners had. Mine is we didn't even put in a recommendation of people being near their cars or in their cars. So, and the event planners decided to stop planning and not have a parade. So, county didn't say no. We did our process and trying to have one, but the event planners won't there.
Butch, could you hear that? Did you understand it?
Yeah, I did hear that, but under the proposed new order, will parades be allowed?
It could be if there was time, but there's not time to and the planners didn't want to spend the money betting on the come.
I understand. Speak to the new order.
That's right.
This is Melissa.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
Thank you. So I think short answer, Butch, to your question is that if somebody else wants to plan the parade, you're more than welcome to. It's, I know you have to get the certain amounts of insurance, et cetera, but as far as the county is concerned, if we get the waiver saying that they can have parades, or if the state or the new state orders say that we can have parades, if somebody wants to organize it, they're welcome to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Public questions?
Bill, this is Ann Barker.
Ann Barthorpe, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, because according to the statement that Polis made, counties that had not had trouble would be allowed to self-govern how they reopen. So all of the orders, as I understand that you're doing today, would have to be redone. Is that correct?
Well, from what Alyssa pointed out and we've stated, and the new orders we expect to be more lenient. And in fact, we expect for those counties that excelled that they're going to allow the counties to take it and work the guidelines internally, specifically to the needs and the situation of the county at that time. And that's why I said we're going to wait and see what that new order says. we won't have to write any new variances if they're more restrictive. If they were, or less restrictive. If they're more restrictive, then we would probably have to, if we've already approved a variance for a parade, for example, then we would have to resubmit a variance, what I understand.
So I appreciate that clarification, and I hope that the board will take under consideration how Buck stated it so well, that this county needs to reopen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ann, for your comments. Thank you very much.
Peggy Collins.
Peggy, go ahead. Peggy Collins.
Two things. I want to reiterate what Buck said. I think that the threat of possibly losing $300,000, which we haven't even figured out how it would be spent, does not trump the freedom of the people to have a parade. Secondly, I want to agree with Ann that the pollers said in counties, rural counties specifically, that haven't had any problems, you can pretty much do what you want.
Right.
This is Alyssa. Can I speak to that?
Go ahead, Alyssa. Thank you. Thank you, by the way, Peggy, for your comment.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. I really want, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, I completely agree that the county should be opened up more than it is based on the fact that we've only had 2 cases. We've had tons of people in the community and haven't had any more cases. That's fantastic. But we had a meeting with the state of Colorado before the Board of Health meeting last Friday, and they are the ones who said that we would lose that possibly $300,000. And the reason why we even had that meeting in the first place was because they got wind that Custer County was in the process of opening up completely. So that was on Friday, and I have not received any correspondence from the state saying that Governor Polis said that rural counties can do whatever they want. We are still under the orders of the state. Going forward, they're looking at giving us more leniency, which I really feel confident that our leadership in our county, the Board of Health, is going to be level-headed and allow that to happen. But I just don't want any misinformation to be out there. At this point, we're not allowed just to open it up 100% from the state perspective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Jay. Stay loud.
If ladies, you know something that we don't know, I mean, please send to us whatever it is. If the case is that the governor said we can open up, I think we're going to reconvene another Board of Health meeting immediately. So if you have some documentation, I think we really need to get our hands on it. I personally am unaware of it, and I pay very close attention to this.
Okay, do everybody copy that? If there's other data out there other than what we are expecting, which I think is probably related to everybody's, I think they're all getting the same message, that is going to be less restrictive, and they are going to allow good counties to tailor it.
But if the governor said rural counties can do whatever they want, if they have anything to that, please share it with us.
Yeah, and Jay's making a good point. If there's, because I haven't seen the actual language, so if Peggy or Ann or anybody has something other than what we've been given, the rough draft of some proposed orders, that would be great. Go ahead, Ann.
That to the 3 of you for what I heard of his statement in both verbatim.
Okay, so you already sent it to us?
No, I will send it.
Oh, okay, good. That's perfect. Send it to us as fast as you can.
Hey, Colonel, it's Buck.
Go ahead, Buck.
Let me just, I don't want to beat up dead horse, but let me just reiterate what I said. This isn't a one-size-fits-all thing, so maybe it's appropriate that the leadership of our county push forward and say, hey, we need special conditions down here, whatever the case may be. And here's a fun fact. So I know that y'all are probably talking to your basis like I am, but is anybody following Senator Woodward's joint resolution that was inked about 2 weeks ago that's in committee right now?
I'm aware of it, and I haven't followed it, Buck. Why don't you tell us?
Okay, it's still in committee, but Bob Woodward out of Larimer County initiated a joint resolution to totally take the emergency powers away from the governor for a myriad of reasons, and one of them was 1.7 billion in expenses just for unemployment alone. So that's in 3 different committees right now, and it's expected to be passed. So maybe all of this will be for naught, but I heard the same thing that Ann did, the governor said, for rural communities that haven't had a lot of exposure or cases, it's a pretty good chance that they're going to be opened up.
That's good news. We just let's get it, and we'll certainly act on it. That's for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, please? Going once, going twice. Anybody?
Colonel,
Go ahead. Who's this?
this is Gary again.
Gary, go ahead.
I want to compliment Buck on keeping his nose to the grindstone on this thing and going further than just taking whatever is put out there in the newspapers and everything else. Actually, because the idea of us being under extortion, that if you don't do this, we're going to cut money off. And the other ladies that are looking into it too, because I'm just one of these people that I don't trust everybody. And I want to say again, thanks a lot to Buck for looking into this, and he obviously has done some work on it. Thanks, Buck. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for your comments.
No problem.
Anybody else? Well, this is great news. It's an hour and 20 minutes into this meeting, and I think we've had a good discussion. And I think everybody understands a little more than when we started. Any other comments? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and we appreciate all your consideration and caring for the health and welfare of this county. Thank you.